right, let's get it started.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Good morning, folks. How the heaven are you?
Morning.
Howdy.
Hope everybody had a fantastic Christmas.
Best one I had all year.
Yeah. worse when you had all year too,
Worst one
right?
I had all year as well. Figure that one out.
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, it's you know, guys, I just got to be perfectly honest with you. I had zero Christmas spirit this year, and that's my fault. But, you know, I was playing Santa Claus, and you'd think I'd be full of Christmas spirit, you know, but now as far as, you know, my relationship with the Lord and you know, the fact that Jesus is the reason for the season, there's no doubt about that. But, and you know, I'm as grateful today as I ever have been in my entire life for, you know, for what the sacrifice that He made for us. But as far as, I guess, I don't know, I want to say that the commercial aspect of it, I guess, maybe? I don't know. What about y'all? Did y'all have lots of ho, ho, ho?
I actually did. Now, of course, still got two reasonably young kids at home. I mean, I say young. They're still teenagers. Older
How old
teenagers.
are they? How old are they now?
They're 19.
19. Wow.
Yeah. And
That's amazing.
yeah, tell me about it. It just seemed like it was a week before last we brought them home from the hospital.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, with them around, the spirit seems to remain alive and well at this house. So we
Yeah.
I did experience quite a bit of the spirit, especially on Christmas morning. I mean, I always do. This Christmas morning, there's just something special about the atmosphere and the time. I mean, you can just, I don't know, you can just tell it around here.
Yeah. How about, Brian, how about you and your little girl? And I'm not talking about Tammy.
It was, yeah, the closer we got to Christmas, more so, but I mean, with everything going on this year, you know, it just seems like it's been a challenge and a chore to get into the Christmas spirit. Now, I mean, it still comes down to the reason for the season. And so when you get to that aspect of it, you know, it's not hard at all. But the as you were saying, the ho 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 part of it, you know, I didn't see as many people decorating their houses as much this year. Just, I don't know, it's just like everybody is just kind of going through the motions.
I did see a lot of that. I also saw people, though, too, who, and some people, my producer being one, I mean, she kind of keeps the Christmas spirit alive year round.
Your lovely producer.
My lovely producer. Lovely and/or talented producer.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go.
But yeah, I know what you're saying, Brian. It's just, there's just a little different atmosphere than there's ever been before. But I think we all understand kind of why that is. It's unfortunate, but.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I had a couple of discussions over this past week with people that they were upset about, you know, not being able to do things the way we normally do it. But it's like I told them, you better get used to it, because that is the norm now. We're not going to be able to gather like we used to. I just don't believe that we'll ever gather the people going to church like we used to. People have now gotten... Terry, what is the saying? If you do something for 30 days, it becomes a habit?
Becomes a habit, yes.
Well, you realize we're about 30 Sundays in a row where people have been going to church via Zoom or online services or something like that. Well, why go to church if you're able to do what you're supposed to do? If you're able to check the checkbox and say that you went to church via internet or Zoom, why go to church?
Well, as someone who has been doing the Zoom or the internet church for about a year now, or 9 months, it's not the same for sure. And I miss the stew out of assembling with my fellow believers. And as a matter of fact, I have determined that I'm going back tomorrow. I'm going to start going back to church. Now, because I've already had COVID. And I'm still struggling with the remnants of it now. Yesterday was one of the worst days I've ever had in my life, because I was by myself all day on Christmas and had one of the worst headaches I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
You know, that was miserable, absolutely miserable. But you know, I'm starting back to church tomorrow, or going, I should say, I'm starting to attend church in the physical presence tomorrow.
Right.
That I've been watching it online.
Well, the thing about the thing about going to church, for me anyway, it is a way to recharge the batteries.
Yes, I agree.
I get to go and meet with people that, you know, believe the same way I do for the most part, and, you know, we build each other up. You know, God knew that we needed to assemble. That's why He said, do not forsake the assembling of yourselves together like some do.
I agree.
Yep.
There's a reason for it. And that reason helps keep us connected. And, you know, whenever you've got people that believe that you do not let a good crisis go to waste, you want to separate people. I mean, did you, I know I sent the article to y'all, but did you read the article about where Fauci admitted he had lied?
Yeah, tell us about that. Tell the folks that haven't read it. Tell them about it.
Well, basically, whenever the vaccine started coming out, he started telling people that, well, we needed 60 to 70% of the people to get the vaccine so we could develop herd immunity. Well, then later he says, well, we need 65, 75%. Then later he said 70, 80%. Now he's up to 90%. Now wait a minute, that's not how herd immunity works. I mean, look, I went through 9th grade health class. That was one of the things that we discussed.
But you don't went to school in the 8th grade, Brian.
Well, we see it took me a little bit longer.
Okay.
So,
right, go ahead.
You know, they had to fill up my head a little bit more.
Okay, I got you.
So, you know,
It is such a big state.
My battery's
Yes.
running low, it says.
yes. I'll have to tell you one day what my science teacher did to me on the final exam. But do what?
There's an old joke about you ought to be an astronaut. You got so much space between your ears.
Yes. But the thing is about herd immunity is, you want to give a vaccine to someone, and we've already discussed this several times. When you have a vaccine, you have a little bit of the virus in the vaccine, so your body will build immunities to it, and then you're spreading those antibodies to other people whenever you're in society. Everybody gets a little bit of taste of it, and then people are immune, so to speak, to the virus, to the severeness of the virus anyway. For example, Spanish flu. We talked about that being the last great pandemic. Well, it raised its ugly head a few years ago, known as H1N1.
Does it look like Pelosi?
Yeah. COVID-19 is going to be just one of the many flu strains that we have.
Yeah, but we're like 5 million infections difference between H1N1 and COVID. H1N1 was infinitely just about worse than COVID.
Yes.
As far as infections go.
But now Fauci, in his explanation of why he lied, well, I didn't think the people could handle the truth. And it was a gut feeling. Well, now, we heard all kinds of criticism from Trump, or about Trump,
yep,
whenever he was talking about being a gut feeling.
Yep.
Nothing said about Fauci. Matter of fact, how many times have you heard this story about Fauci lying?
I was going to say, that's the first time I think I've ever heard that.
Yeah, you're the first.
And that was a New York Times story.
Yeah.
So, I mean, well, I may have the accreditation wrong on it. It was either USA Today or Time. New York Times, one of the two. But, it's just an impossible thing for us to get back to normality when you got people like Biden sitting up there saying, well, I'm going to impose a 100-day mask mandate. Well, why? You've got New York and California with mandates, and that's where the hot spots are.
Yep.
Masks don't work.
Nope.
Lockdowns don't work.
That's right.
Well, I mean, it goes back to this is the first epidemic, pandemic, whatever, where they quarantine the healthy.
Yes.
That right there should tell you that the powers that be in charge don't know what they're doing. But
oh no, Rod, they do know what they're doing.
Well, I agree. They do. They do know what they're doing. But
it's all about control, and it's all about breaking down our society. It's not about the pandemic. It's not about COVID. It's not about anything else except
control.
Getting us in a position where they can control us better. And that's why the second round of lockdowns is about to happen. Because the countries that are not doing lockdowns are doing great. They really are. And the countries that are doing lockdowns, because lockdowns hurt us, they don't help us. They besides the damage they do to our economy, which is catastrophic. It's all about them controlling us, and it's all about them breaking us down, and it's all about getting us on a subsistence dole from the government, so they will have complete control of us.
Well, the psychological breakdowns. The psychological breakdown is worse than probably all of it, because suicide's gone up. You've had more domestic violence since this began. I mean, people need that contact, and it goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning here when I was talking about getting back to church. You know, emotionally, we need to be around people.
We do. You're right.
But
well, I'm wearing a shirt this morning that I got off the internet that says, "When guns are outlawed, I'll be an outlaw."
But you already were an outlaw, Terry.
Well, it depends on who you talk to.
No, that's true.
well, you were wearing a mask, weren't you?
Well, you're an outlaw if you don't wear a mask in today's world. That's what's so crazy.
Yeah.
You're an outlaw if you don't wear a mask. And I hate masks. I had to do the Santa Claus thing over at Cabela's with wearing a face shield. And I was behind a 1/4-inch plexiglass screen in front of me. I had to do both. And I had people looking at me like, "What kind of idiot are you?" And that's what I felt like, was just a complete idiot.
Now you know how I felt all my life.
Oh, don't give me an opening like that. Oh! Rod! Oh! Anyway, no, Rod's the man, the myth, the legend. Anyway,
where's my cape?
Super Rod.
The Trinity Flash.
There you go.
Yeah.
Trinity Flash. I thought you put that flashing rap, though. I
Yeah, I did kind of have to put that to the side.
Anyway.
Moving on now.
Well, I saw a picture on Facebook a while back. It was a gun store, and they warned people that they needed to remove their mask before they enter, because think about it, you know, up until March of this year, if you wore a mask going into a bank or a gun store, you would get some strange looks, and not the looks of, you know, well, why is he wearing a mask? It's like, we think you're here to do harm.
Yeah.
So
now, if you don't wear a mask, they think you're there to do harm.
Yep.
Which is, you know, but it reminds me, though, you remember the Darwin Awards that they did there for a long time? My favorite of all, my favorite Darwin Award, well, one of my favorites of all time, was this guy who ran into a gun store with his little popper gun. It was a little, I forgot what it was now, but it was a little bitty gun. Ran into this gun store and tried to hold it up. Well, this mental genius when he pulled into the parking lot, he parked next to a running police car that was sitting there idling. And so to make a long story short, when the smoke cleared, he had like 16 bullets from 8 different guns in it.
Oh, me.
And this middle midget, I thought it was hilarious. That is hilarious.
Yeah, I love those dumb criminal stories. Those are some of my absolute favorites.
You park next to a running police car and go into a gun store, gun drawn, to rob the place.
That makes sense on its own right there.
Yeah,
There's a lot of wisdom in that.
Glad that guy got removed from the team pool. That's what I'm happy about.
But no, I went in, Brian, you're talking about gun stores, or we were talking about gun stores. You know, I went in one in Athens back, it was in the summer, and my daughters, of course, being 19 years old, they've got their carry permits, and we were looking to buy them a reasonably sized firearm, a pistol.
Mm-hmm.
And we go to one gun store there, and they were just adamant that you had to have a mask. If you didn't, the guns would probably point in the other direction to be pointed at you. So we left, went to another section not far away of the gun store, walk in, the people behind the counters are not wearing masks. But they had a sign up that said, you need to be wearing a mask if you come through the door. Well, I asked, we got inside, I said, do we need a mask? She said, well, it's up to you. She said, if you want to wear one, you may. If you don't, feel welcome to just come on in and look around. And to me, I thought, well, that right there is the way to be. But I understand they have to follow rules that come from...
What rules?
Well, you know what I'm saying.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of people still believe that when Meemaw says that, there's a mask mandate, that it has, meaning. It doesn't. It's not a law.
No.
Look, there's a couple of things that cause a law to be a law. If there's some policy for it to be a law. One is, it has to be able to have a punishment assigned to it. There's no punishments here.
Oh, you hadn't run into some of the Karens that I've seen.
Yeah, but a Karen isn't one that describes the punishment. You can
I don't know. They deal out some pretty good stuff. But I understand what you're saying, and I'm being silly. But there is no legislative punishment.
Right.
That is a social punishment from a lot of people, and I think the majority of the people these days, honestly, are they're more anti-mask than they are pro-mask. Because they're beginning to figure out that this is a scam. The masks are a scam. The masks actually, in my humble opinion, not so humble, my opinion is that they're a scam, and they don't work. They make you sicker than you were. They inhibit your intake of oxygen. I've seen too many trials where somebody would put a mask on and they would check his oxygen level, and then he would take the mask off and they would check his oxygen level.
Yep.
And it was up considerably after the mask was off.
Yeah, mine's about 15%. Mine's reduced about 15%.
They're adamant about wearing their masks. They have just been religious about wearing their masks.
Yeah,
your hands.
Exactly right. You're exactly right.
Those are the ones that's getting it.
I wasn't, but I got it from my actually my daughter-in-law brought it in the house, and then David got it, my son, and then I got it.
Yeah.
You can't. I'm not about to wear a mask 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm just not going to do it.
I was telling my producer one day.
Your lovely producer.
My lovely and/or talented producer. One day in the middle of this week, I was over in town and coming down a street there beside of a convenience store, and there was a lady she was pushing one of these that looked like one of these portable clothes hampers. Okay, now it was one of those days when the wind chill made it about 20-something degrees. Okay, now this is outside. She's walking down the street. She doesn't have on a coat. She's wearing short sleeves. She had on her mask.
Bless her heart. She probably was doing it for warmth that day.
I don't know. But I mean, I just thought, what has this world come to?
Just breaks.
Well, a friend of mine put on Facebook a picture. I don't know if she took the picture or if she got the picture from somewhere else. But she happened to, the picture shows the inside of a car. And someone had taken and put masks over the vents.
I can believe it.
Oh, Lord.
I mean,
yeah, I can believe it too. I just worry about those cars getting COVID. The car getting COVID is a horrible thing.
Yeah.
There are cars all over the world that have gotten COVID and just have passed away. They're, millions of cars. Absolutely.
Dear Lord, help us.
But talking about air conditioning and stuff like that, we need to thank Joey and as being our sponsor for the podcast. And let's take a moment and hear a word from Joey.
Our house has never been this comfortable.
They're actually early. We've never had any service like this before.
Our utility bills have never been this low.
Hey, this is Joey, the owner of Superior Heating and Air. These are the things our customers have to say when they turn to the experts at Superior Heating and Air to repair their systems at home or to replace their systems with a new Carrier Heating and Air system. Give us a call today, 256-837-2525. If you would like the same results for your, and remember, at Superior Heating and Air, we'll keep the air on for you.
And right now he's keeping the heat on for people. I think he got a couple of emergency calls yesterday or the day before. And if you get a chance to look at Joey's Facebook page, he will put on there pictures of people that he's going to work on their air conditioning units that were installed by other people, and just shows some of the horror stories of what people have done. It's amazing. People will try and just, a heating and air conditioning unit is probably one of the more expensive things that you'll purchase for your house. Well, spend a little bit of money and get it done right.
Yeah.
And so you can give Joey a call at 837-2525, or you can visit him online at superiorhvac.net. And remember, he is the Carrier Presidential Award winner in the area. So, Terry.
Yes.
I guess you heard about the little ruckus in Nashville yesterday morning.
Yeah, I've heard several different spins on that too. Tell me what you've heard is the latest on it.
Latest I saw last night was that it was an RV that was suspected. Sometime before 6 a.m., some people contacted the police. Some said they'd heard gunfire, but they saw a car or a vehicle, and it wound up being an RV, that looked suspicious.
Well, the suspicious part to me would be that the RV, like 40 minutes before the explosion, started broadcasting a message over a loudspeaker from the RV, saying that you need to evacuate the area. That's just a tiny bit suspicious to me.
That'd be a bit of a giveaway.
Yeah, it is, and especially considering the fact that it actually exploded.
Yeah.
Now, where it exploded is another big question. Now, if you live in Tennessee, praise God if you do. If you live in Tennessee, there are, you're probably around Nashville area, you're probably without cell service today.
Yeah.
Because it knocked out. I had several friends who texted me or posted on Facebook, and one of them in particular I'm thinking about they live in a place called Hendersonville, Tennessee, which is on the north side of Nashville, which is, I'd say, 20 miles from the actual site of the explosion. They are without cell service.
Well, Terry, it also affected people here in North Alabama.
Really?
Yeah. Other part of my family has AT&T, and phones weren't working for a good portion of the day. GPS wasn't working. So a lot of AT&T services were out.
Well, we can't blame this on WOW.
No, can't blame this on WOW. Unless they were the ones that set up the RV. I don't think they would do that.
Nah, I don't think so either. I'm just kidding. WOW's good company.
Terry, it might be a sunny day, but don't think lightning won't come down. I'm glad we're on Zoom.
Yeah, me too. Anyway, but what I additionally heard was, and again, this may be just another one of those rumors, but supposedly there were a bunch of Dominion machines that were brought to Nashville to be audited.
That's the story I heard.
And they were there at the AT&T building.
Well, I haven't heard that.
I don't know, and I've heard that, again, what I would not call a reliable source at this point. I just heard it. That's just a story that I've heard.
Well, 20 buildings, from what I understand, were damaged. Now, I've seen some pictures that have been posted on Facebook, and it looks like a lot of the damage would be superficial. Windows, if you didn't have a brick facade, you might have some damage to the building, but nothing real structurally was damaged. Although there were 3 people sent to the hospital. One of them was the police officer who got knocked down by the blast, and I think another one was a police officer that had temporarily lost his hearing because of it. So I don't know what the other person, I don't know if they were just a bystander, but later on in the night, the police did say that they had found human remains.
Yeah, right.
At the bomb site. So there was supposed to be a press conference this morning. I think they said 9 o'clock this morning, so it'd been as we were coming on the air. And I haven't seen anything yet from that.
The video that you can actually watch of the actual explosion and the warning that was being broadcast to the area there, through a loudspeaker, saying that there's a blast, or it didn't say a blast, it said you need to evacuate the area, is what it said. You need to evacuate the area. So police went in there, and there was a pretty good police presence there when it happened, because they were there risking their lives to evacuate the buildings and evacuate those people that live in that area. And there's not a lot of them really that live down in that area.
Right.
It's more business, it's more commercial. But it says here, I'm looking at an article this morning, it said, excuse me, there were 21 businesses that were damaged, I think.
Yeah. And I think there were several restaurants in the area too.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's real heavy on restaurants in that area. And that's kind of that's really downtown. Well, if you know where the AT&T building, the Batman building, that's what it's called. Like the Batman building. But that's where a lot of the. I'm sorry, my eyes are itching like crazy today. I've got some kind of allergy situation going on, but I apologize. I'm not.
It's that makeup that you wore getting in your eyes.
I'm supposed to tell people about that, Brian. Dadgummit.
Well, hey, between your makeup and Rod's wig, having to be dried, y'all were talking about, dressing in dresses a couple of weeks ago. Hey, I'm the only sane one here.
And you work with us.
I know.
Yeah, Brian. Explain that one.
And just think, look at this face, and imagine this face without makeup.
Look, I've had people ask me for years, I mean decades, why do you wear a beard? To cover up the ugly.
Hey, hello. I got a lot longer beard than you do.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I'll stay out of that one.
Yeah, Rod, the man, the myth, the legend. Doesn't need a beard, do you?
No.
Ask your producer would say you probably don't need a beard, right?
She says she absolutely threatens to leave me if I grow a beard.
Dang.
I can't have that.
No.
She probably wouldn't, but she don't like it, so I don't grow one.
I agree. Happy wife, happy life.
Absolutely.
But
yeah, I'm the only male presence in this house. Even the dog is.
Hey, I know that feeling too.
You know what I mean, Brian?
I do.
Yeah. But I wouldn't take nothing. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Absolutely would not.
But has there been anybody claim responsibility for setting off the bomb?
Everybody did.
Not that I'm aware of. I'm not seeing anything. They've already offered a $300,000 reward to help find the suspect.
Yeah.
And that's including a lot of country music stars. Let's see, Clay Travis gave $10,000. Fox Sports host, Camping World CEO Marcus Lemonis donated $250,000. Owners of the Lewis Country Store who added $20,000. There's a lot of pressure to find this person and or persons to bring them to justice. But of course, if it's up to Bill Barr, they probably won't.
No.
Probably won't. It's up to Bill Barr.
No.
I don't think Bill's going to have anything to do with it.
Yeah, but if he does, it probably won't have anything.
Yeah, that may be true.
Okay. So I want to ask a question. Who was worse, Sessions or Barr? I mean, I really have to lean towards Barr as being worse because I can understand Sessions' point of view of recusing himself because he didn't want to appear to be running interference for Trump. But Barr's had absolute evidence and has refused to do anything.
I think Sessions did too. We just haven't heard as much about it. When was Barr appointed?
If that had been a year ago.
Yeah. So he had Sessions had the information on Hunter Biden. Didn't do anything with it. I like Jeff Sessions, but I consider Jeff a friend. Jeff may not consider me a friend, but I do. I consider Jeff a friend. I mean, we spent a lot of time on the air together, and very, very productive time on the air. Wouldn't you say, Brian?
Yeah.
Lovely Tammy.
Yeah.
Hello, lovely Tammy.
Terry said hello.
Oh, I didn't know there was a TV coming.
No, but
Go
they
on.
heard you.
Oh, hi guys!
Go ball.
Go where? Go what? I mean,
Well, they're not going to Memphis.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, well.
Praise God. I'm so happy that they're not going to Memphis. I've had embarrassment with the football team this year already. Now, men's basketball, hey, we're kicking butt taking names there. We're number 6 in the country there. And
But-
potentially could be number 1.
But we were talking about Sessions and Barr. I would have considered Sessions for a presidential run.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
But it gets back to what we've always talked about, Terry. You asked me 2 weeks ago to name the top 5 politicians that I would trust.
Yep.
It's hard. I mean, it's almost impossible.
You still hadn't come up with 5, have you?
Well, I came up with 4.
Yeah, but you still hadn't come up with 5.
No.
What about you, Rod? Did you come up with 5?
No.
I didn't either.
No, but I don't believe there are 5.
Well, all I gotta say is that we're fortunate in this area to have Mo Brooks.
I agree with you there. And hopefully Tommy Tuberville.
I would put trust in those 2 as it stands right now. And Tuberville, I believe Tuberville will do just what he says he'll do.
Well, much like with Trump, although I voted for Tuberville, I'll hold off until he's actually done something.
Yeah.
At this point, he can't do anything. He's
No.
not in office.
Exactly.
So whenever he starts proving himself, then I'll get on that bandwagon. Other than that, I'm going to give him all the benefit of the doubt, but you still got to prove it to me. I'm no longer going to believe or have faith in what someone's going to do until they've actually started proving it to me.
Yep. I keep going back to Jeremy Odom. Yep. Yeah, there's a former cop in Nashville, retired NYPD detective who was part of an arson explosion task force, said that while it's yet unclear the intended target of Friday's explosion, he would not rule out the first responders and law enforcement, which is a thought because of the warning beforehand. Because as we all know, they would do exactly what they did, and that the police came in force to try to evacuate the area. So, I mean, that's a good thought. As far as is my way of thinking about whoever this sicko was or sickos were intending to be the recipient of the blast. The law enforcement or first responders would be, that would be a logical target.
Well, considering the fact Christmas Day, those businesses aren't going to be open.
Exactly.
What would be the logical target be? Now, with football season being in full force right now in the NFL, I didn't know if the Titans were playing, since it was right there close to AT&T, and AT&T is right there next to the Tennessee Stadium.
Across the river, yeah, it's across the river.
Yeah,
about
but
mile and a half away.
Yeah, but still, the only thing I had heard that morning was, that it was close to the AT&T building. Well, close when being reported could be within 10 miles.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing I could think of that would even be possibly going on. Is people arriving, to go to the game for an 11 o'clock kickoff or 12, whatever. It makes no sense. I mean, normally a bombing makes sense because you know that there's who they're going after. So that makes the only logical sense. Is what you're saying. That it was the first responders.
Well, there's another theory that this fellow from New York has postulated.
Okay, now first of all, you said New York.
I know. He was a bomb expert from New York.
Okay, but
that's what he did for many, many years, and he's retired from the New York Police Department. But
still, New York, you can't trust people in New York.
But
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This guy's got a theory that I think could have credence to it. He added, it's not also clear whether the blast was a trial run for a larger attack or a standalone explosion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I certainly hope that was not a trial run. As you mentioned, now if you've ever been to Nashville on a time when, of course, a lot of the businesses in Nashville are shut down right now. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
But still, there's a lot of people there in Nashville, and I drove for Uber and Lyft there for a little while, and I would go to Nashville a lot because that's where I could make money. And I'll never forget, as long as I live, when the weekend they had the NFL draft last year. This was 2020, or not last year, but this year, 2020. They had it in Nashville. And that area where the bomb went off down there, they closed the street literally because people were shoulder to shoulder, excuse me, for the draft. It was, you couldn't hardly get a piece of paper between the people down there.
Yeah.
Which would have killed hundreds, if not thousands of people.
Well, isn't that the same area that they did the 4th of July in 2019?
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, they did one in Nashville, a fireworks display, and they televised it on CMT. And I think it was in that same area.
It was probably down on the river, which is real close.
Yeah, it was at the river. That's
yeah.
And they launched the fireworks from the stadium, from Nissan Stadium.
It's right there next to the river. Yeah.
So it would have been the same area, just to give people an idea of where we're talking about. If you saw that broadcast back in 2019.
Yeah. Okay. All right. But anyway, and that's a chilling thought that it could be a trial run for a larger explosion. Because again, Nashville is definitely, believe it or not, and this is something that blew my mind, but Nashville is now the #1 destination in the United States for bachelorette parties. I mean, it was unbelievable. When I was driving Uber and Lyft up there, it was unbelievable how many groups of young females were trolling the bar scene in Nashville. And they were most of them were out of town.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, there's a lot of people that are moving to Nashville.
Yes.
Ben Shapiro, for example, just moved about a month or two ago to Nashville. Moved his whole, what is his, the Daily Wire? Is that?
Yeah.
He moved his entire corporation to Nashville.
Yeah. Well, the tax laws in Tennessee are much better, because you don't have a state income tax in Tennessee like we do here in Alabama. And just frost my cake that I have to pay state income tax. I lived in Florida and Tennessee. Neither one of them have a state income tax.
Yes, but talk property taxes.
I know. They're going to get you one way or another. There's
Yeah.
no doubt about that. They're going to get their pound of flesh.
And our property taxes in the state of Alabama are a lot less than Tennessee and Florida.
Yeah. I can't argue with that.
So it's a trade-off.
I just hate paying taxes either way. I just, you know, if they're used properly, I don't mind paying taxes. But it's like, you know, tithing. I give to the Lord. The recipient of that is my church, and they are very judicious with the way they use the money. I cannot say that about the federal government because of this proposed stimulus plan that is being postulated right now. I like this word, postulated.
That is a good word, Terry.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I've sat up all night just trying to find a word there. Anyway,
I found it to be quite serendipitous, actually.
So anyway, this thing that's been postulated, that's just the Democrats never, and I know it's because of my naivete, but the Democrats never cease to amaze me with their crookedness and their oh my gosh, I mean, it's like $1.4 billion part of this thing to some kind of an organization in the Middle East. 1.4. And when you think about, you know, basically $1 trillion, $1 billion doesn't sound like much. That's another part of their efforts to control us, is to desensitize us to unbelievably massive spending that the government doesn't have. They're printing money with nothing to back it up.
Yeah.
Of course, Trump, you know, part of that was a $600 hush payment for us.
Yeah. It made me keep my mouth closed. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, I'm not going to say a word.
Yeah, I understand. But, and then President Trump comes back and says, no, let's make it 2,000. Well, you know, as much as I would love to get $2,000, it's not a gift.
Yes, it isn't.
We got to pay it back.
Yep.
Our kids, our grandkids, our great-grandkids will have to pay. Not yours, Brian. Coco's not yours. They haven't figured out how to tax dogs Well, yeah, I guess they have in a way.
Don't give them any ideas, Terry.
Well, Rod, you may not realize this. Do you remember back in Obamacare, whenever we were first talking about, all the different taxes that were, the different fees and stuff?
Yeah.
Well, pet care falls under that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they use some of the same equipment.
Yeah. I remember that as it's amazing how they were able to make that happen that way.
But yet I still cannot declare Coco as a dependent.
By the way, Brian, I love your T-shirt there, buddy.
Oh, thank you.
That's one of my all-time favorite sayings, as you know. I'm your Huckleberry. Yeah, I see that. I love it.
Cross pistols.
Where'd you get that? I'd like to get one of those.
I got it off Facebook.
Did you? Send me
Yeah.
a link. I'd like to get one of those.
There's a. I don't remember if this came from Warrior 13, or. But there's several Patriot companies. Oh, I got a nice shirt for Christmas. It's from Warrior 13, and if you haven't looked at their items, it's stuff like this. But on the front chest, it's got 4 nails that form a cross, and on the back it says, "I only kneel for one man, and he died on the cross."
Amen.
My lovely wife got me that for.
She's such a special lady. My
Yes.
goodness, you're so blessed.
There's just one thing I would change about her.
But she's a Tennessee fan.
Yep. And the way Tennessee's been going, I think I'm getting closer and closer to converting her.
If you watch basketball, though, you're going to be a stronger Tennessee fan.
Yeah. No. I don't like the round ball sports. It's got to be oblong. It's got to be flat on the top and bottom. Something.
Well, actually, a basketball court is oblong and flat, and so,
Yeah, but it's not made out of pigskin.
Yeah, but you can stay warm or cool, as the case may be, when you're watching basketball.
Speaking of which, Brian, who is our sponsor?
Well, that would be Joey Ursery and his staff at Superior Heating and Air. And let's take a moment and hear from Joey.
Our house has never been this comfortable.
They're actually early. We've never had any service like this before.
Our utility bills have never been this low.
Hey, this is Joe, the owner of Superior Heating and Air. These are the things our customers have to say when they turn to the expert for Superior Heating and Air. Repair their systems at home, or to replace their systems with a new Carrier Heating and Air system. Give us a call today, 256-837-2525. If you would like the same results for your home. And remember, at Superior Heating and Air, we'll keep the on for you.
And right now he's trying to keep the heat on for people. And again, you can contact Joey and his staff at Superior Heating and Air at 837-2525. Visit him online at superiorhvac.net. And remember, he is the Carrier Presidential Award winner in the area. Now, one other thing that we need to talk about is sometime soon, we're going to be giving away a $25 gift card.
Ah, yes.
And so just be paying attention. If you have found something that you didn't get for Christmas and you want to purchase it online, have it ready to go, and we'll be putting the numbers up for you to use the Visa card and you can purchase that item up to $25.
Cool. I like it. I got to ask you something, Brian. You call your friend there Ursery, but there's no R in his name. Is this your colloquialism, or is this actually the way he pronounces his name, or is this a Brian Blackism? Just curious.
No, it's pronounced Ussery.
Okay.
Ussery.
Ussery, yeah. That's what it's spelled. So I was just curious if that was, you adding the R in there, or...
Nah, it's just a country way.
Okay, well, that's what I thought.
Just call him Joey.
Joey! Hey, Joey, appreciate you, buddy. God bless you, man. I hope you had a great, wonderful, and special Christmas Day. And Christmas Eve.
Amen.
Knowing Joey, he probably was out in the woods if he wasn't working on someone's heating.
Man, I don't know if y'all been seeing these weird hunting videos lately. There was one yesterday where this guy was out in the woods with his wife, which I would question his sanity about that, but he was bow hunting moose. And this huge moose walks out of the woods. And this guy's on like some kind of a road there, a fire trail or whatever. And this moose comes out of the woods. This guy's got a big old compound bow, and he's got it drawn back. And this moose just kind of saunters out of the woods, looks up and sees him, and just ever so slowly just kind of makes his way up toward the guy. Now, question, gentlemen, would you let a over 2,000-pound animal that stands 8 feet tall approach you with your wife standing behind you, and you with arguably a maybe ineffective weapon in your hands, but this thing walks right up to them and past them? Would you have released that arrow?
Well, if I was hunting, probably. I mean...
But all you're going to possibly do is shoot him and hit him right there, right at the base of his antlers, and make him mad. Be what I would.
Make him mad.
Yeah, and then you will have trouble.
Yeah.
Well,
I agree. But I'm thinking more like plant it right in the middle, right about his heart. Because the moose was just kind of slowly walking up. I mean, he was doing like maybe 1 mile an hour, and would stop and just look at him, and just kept walking. And I saw another video this morning, blew my mind, of a badger, not a badger, but a wolverine. This guy was out on his bicycle. And did you see this one, Brian?
no, I didn't.
Anyway, this wolverine walked past this guy. He had the head of a goat in his mouth.
I could believe that.
I'm not making this stuff up,
The man
guys.
or the wolverine?
Do what?
The man or the wolverine had the head of the goat in his mouth.
Good point.
Just trying to get it figured out here.
In this particular video, it was the wolverine.
Gotcha.
And the wolverine just kind of walks up past him and just, walks by like, hey, how you doing? Out for a little ride on your bicycle? Okay, have a great day. And just, I'm like,
I guess he was full.
I guess so. This was his dinner snack, I guess, the head of the goat.
Well, I mean, it's just like a bear. If you, if a bear has eaten, they're not going to bother you. Yeah, animals aren't going to bother you if they're full. They only go after, other meat sources whenever when they're hungry.
I'm not going to take the chance that their dietary, regimen dictates that if they're full, they're not going to try to eat meat. I would be a tasty, large meal for any animal out there. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to rely on their, like I said, their table manners.
Yeah, that moose could be upset that you use his cousins to pull your sled, or something.
Exactly.
Decide to get revenge.
Exactly. So
well, that's why you always carry something to defend yourself.
Yeah, if you've got, unless you've got a 50 that you're carrying with you, what are you going to do to a moose other than piss him off?
Well, actually, the gunshot would probably scare him off.
Probably.
But I'm not going to do like Biden suggests and pointing in the air. I'm still going to point it at him.
Yeah. Well, he also, I think he says, shoot him in the leg.
Biden said that.
Yeah.
Humans there. Yeah. He said, don't give them don't defend yourself with fatal force. Shoot the perpetrator in the leg.
Yeah.
Right.
I've seen people try and shoot a silhouette. How in the world are they going to hit a leg when they can't hit a silhouette?
Right. That's my point exactly.
And there's more movement on the legs than there is the torso.
Well, again, if you've got somebody that's absolutely blasted out of their gourd on ice or cocaine or heroin or, any number of things, their pain tolerance is way higher than yours. Now, if I'm sitting here with no pharmaceuticals coursing through my body, other than what my doctor has said I need to maintain this
massive physique
in the leg, you've got my full attention. But
well, part of what I've done in my life is I've had to carry a weapon as part of my job. And the training that I received was, you don't worry about wounding them. Because if you have to draw your gun, it is a life and death situation.
Exactly, yeah.
And I would always rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
Yep. Brian, in yours, in my case, it'd probably take more than 6 to carry us, but,
Well, they'll just probably leave me on the little rollers.
Oh, brother.
But anyway, going back to the stimulus plan. I was reading a Twitter, a tweet from Lindsey Graham, who said he spent quite a bit of time with President Trump yesterday about the stimulus plan, or maybe it was, I guess it was Christmas Eve, probably not Christmas Day. But that he felt like that President Trump was very definitely committed to the $2,000 payment. Now, again, is this a $2,000 payment that's going to go from $600 to $2,000 with everything else staying the same? Or is this a completely new bill that would keep all of this other largesse in place?
Well, I think that's what Trump is saying. You know, get rid of all the money to these foreign countries that are not really trying to benefit us. Get rid of the money going to the Kennedy Theater.
It's
All
$1
these-
billion going to the Smithsonian.
Yeah,
$1 billion going to the Smithsonian. I love the Smithsonian, but
but we're in a lockdown.
exactly.
Why do they need the $1 billion? I mean, is it
Yeah.
just to pay the employees? Well, you know, they would get the $2,000.
I don't know, buddy. There's just, you know, and the part that really really burns my tail, which is usually a flame about this high. But what really burns my tail is this is a this
The visual on that, Terry, is just really cool, you know?
Thing is, he's got a backdrop that has a flame.
Yeah, absolutely. But the fact that this is a 5,500-page bill that was presented to our legislators 2 hours before they got to vote on it. Now, I took speed reading when I was a kid, and I could read back then about 2,000 words a minute, which I contend is still pretty fast. But, you know, what are you going to do with a 5,500-page bill that has got all sorts of chicanery in it? Part of it being that President Trump could not enforce and institute the Insurrection Act.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, but that's who the Democrats are.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was like the thing with Obamacare. I mean,
Exactly.
that was presented, 2 hours before they were supposed to vote on it, or 2 days, or something like that. And it took, 2 months to be able to read through the thing?
You know, and again, to me, the dumbest thing that Pelosi has ever said, and my gosh, that just sets a standard that's unbelievable. But she said, let's vote it through so we can figure out what it is.
Well, that's the same thing he did with Biden's presidency.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same vacuous, idiotic, oh my gosh, lack of common sense.
Well, common sense has been dead for about 12 or 14 years in this country, though.
Well, now Trump was bringing it back. That's the good part about it.
Yes, that's true.
Trump was bringing it back. Guys, I just want to get this is kind of a little bit of a poll here, just amongst the three of us.
Okay.
Is Trump going to be our president on January 21st, 2021?
I don't think so.
You know my answer.
Well, I'm agreeing with Rod. I still think that Trump is playing 4D chess, and I think that he's got some really smart people around him too. Trump is very smart, but Trump is also smart enough to gather people around him who are even smarter than he is in certain areas.
I just don't see what,
The
you know,
the only way he won't make it is if he concedes.
He's not going to do that. I'll
No,
promise you.
he won't
Put
concede.
his house on that one.
No.
You know, and we've kind of talked about, you know, martial law and stuff like that. What was the thing that the Democrats were saying about Trump whenever he got elected, that he was going to be a dictator? Well, if he goes martial law, then that's what it is. He's becoming a dictator.
But Brian, he can invoke martial law in part of the country and not all of it. He can invoke it in just certain cities, certain states. It's not going to be a blanket. I don't believe would be a blanket policy. It would just be in some places. And here in the South, the only possibility that there might be would be Atlanta. Now,
I just don't see how that. I just don't see how that's going to benefit the Republic. Now, I realize the Republic right now is on life support.
well, it won't be the first time we've ever been that martial law has ever been invoked in this country.
No.
Abe
No.
Lincoln did it, and it was a blanket policy, the whole country. The Constitution was suspended,
Yeah, and the country was at war.
and it was we are at war now. If you stop and look at it,
Well,
there's not guns.
fortunately, we haven't had to fire any shots.
Not yet, but there is still a war going on. If you look at it,
Yes, there is.
there.
I just don't want to see us having to go through a civil war again. Like
Nobody
we did.
does, but Brian, it's either way it goes, there's going to be upheaval. I mean, that is just there's really not going to be any way around it.
I do feel that where we live, it's not going to be an issue.
No, it won't be.
I agree with you there. I don't think it'll be. This will not be a hot spot.
Yeah. Now maybe places like Birmingham, Montgomery, it might be a problem. Cities like Nashville and Atlanta, your bigger cities. But I don't think that there would even be a problem over in Huntsville.
No.
If it is, it'll be very isolated and be quelled very quickly, in my opinion.
Yeah. There's just too many people in this area that have weapons to defend themselves. And
I posted something this week. I don't know if y'all saw it or not, but a article about the states with the most percentage of gun owners. And I think Alabama was 7th or 8th, something like that. Tennessee wasn't in the top 10, which really surprised me. But Alaska was like number 1, and like Wyoming and Montana and places like that were all in the top 5.
and the reason why is because they have wildlife there that they have to protect themselves against.
Yeah, like moose. Yeah, exactly. And grizzlies and
Mhm.
black bears and yeah, I agree. You don't go sauntering around the countryside unless you're packing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. So anyway, but getting back to the stimulus plan, are y'all in favor of the $2,000?
Not really, because
No.
of what we were talking about. The pie is only so big, and you can only, and it doesn't matter how many slices you take out of it. It's either going to be a big slice or a thin slice, and that slice is getting thinner and thinner. And a slice is $1. The value of that dollar.
But and I agree. You know, a lot of people need help. You know, I mean, I'm on Social Security now. Thank the Lord, and I have many times that I got some work around Christmas time this year that made a little bit of money. But the rest of the year looks pretty bleak for me. Physically, I'm just not able to do a lot anymore. I mean, I look at myself now on video, and my gosh, how I've aged in the last 6 months is scary. But
well, and I'm people who need assistance. I don't have a problem in the world with them having it. Never have. And I understand what you're saying. I'm all for you getting help. But I guess what I'm saying is that I'd rather not get it. See a possibility of a chance of our country being brought back to its senses.
So basically what you're saying, Rod, is when your $2,000 check gets there, you're going to give it to me? That kind of what I'm
getting? I will. If you need it, I will.
I know you would, buddy, and I'm just kidding. I'm just playing with you. But seriously, I mean, this is our kid. This is your daughter's money.
I understand.
That we're giving away, and that breaks my heart. I mean, that breaks my heart. No matter what my need is, you know, it breaks my heart that we're looking at. But why would Trump go from 600 to 2,000?
Again, listening to that press conference that he gave, well, it wasn't really a press conference, it was more of an address to the nation. The way I understood him saying it, give the people $2,000 and do not do the other things that are in this bill.
I got from it.
Me too. And
now,
I wanted that point brought out. You know, this is adding insult to injury. This is redirecting.
Right. Now, there is a place for the stimulus package. In as much as places like California, New York, Virginia, I guess, Delaware, you know, where they have these nut job governors that are using the departments to shut down businesses. Like in California, they use the health department, who has the power to pull your license to keep you from opening up your business. Whenever they do a lockdown like that, the government has to reimburse you for that amount of money that you're losing. And so that would be the only reason why I would see the package needing to be done, is to follow the Constitution when that happens.
I don't think that's even in their thought process.
No, it's not. They want to get rid of the small businesses.
They want to destroy small business.
Absolutely.
That's the sick part about it.
Well, you see, with the big businesses, they've already made their decision. They're going to play ball with the people in power so they can maintain their incomes. The small businesses, for the most part, are not going to play ball.
Yeah. Well, you know, I heard, and I forgot who it was this week, was talking about that, and he said, do not play ball, basically, with the lockdown. If you have a business that they're trying to lock down, shoot them the finger and open your business anyway. And if everybody does that, then that takes away the power of the, because again, you've got, as you mentioned, nut jobs out there that unfortunately the police sometimes will follow along with what the nut jobs are saying. But I think if everybody just rose up and said, heck no, we're not going to do this, that it would make a huge difference.
The problem is, with same way with the federal government, it's happened at the state government and the local level. We have too many of these departments that have power. They force you to get a certificate so you can build something on your property. They force you to get a business license. Of course, what is a business license called in this state? Rod, what's your business license called? What does it say up at the top? What does it say up at the top? Privilege license.
Privilege. Okay. I was trying to decide where we were going here. Yeah.
It's a privilege to do business in this state.
Yeah.
I hope Terry's still with us.
I am, buddy. I had to stop my video there for a minute. I've had some issues with my contact.
Okay. Well, we thank you for stopping your video.
Yeah, no problem.
So, it's a privilege. Yeah, it's a privilege to do business in this state, or in the individual counties that you work in.
I don't have the right to do it, but they're giving me the privilege.
Exactly. That's my point.
Yeah.
It's no longer a right that you have to go in business for yourself. It's a privilege for you to be in business.
Or the town of Trinity in my case.
Yeah. Well, now, Rod, I want to ask a question, and I don't want you to answer, okay?
Okay.
But you got to get a business license or a privilege license to do work in any county that you work in. Am I correct?
Yeah.
You know, when we would set up a contract to do a security job, it didn't matter what county we were in. We had to go through all the process to do work in that county, which meant we got a privilege license, or in that city, whatever the case may be. Sometimes it was both. You had to get a county license and a city license. You know, it's just, we let this get way out of hand. And here's the thing, it happened before we were born. Well, maybe not you, Terry.
What are you trying to say, buddy?
You know, this happened back in the, 120 years ago, when these things started happening.
What you say, buddy?
Well, you could have talked to Abe about it. Oh, me. But it's just, we've let it get too far out of hand. And it was the people before us that did that. Oh, great. Guys, I don't know if you're still there or not. Nope.
There he is.
There we go.
In other words, I have to figure the value of the equipment that's sitting on the back of literally in my pickup truck. And then I pay a fee based on the dollar amount of worth of that equipment every year. Just it's type of a privilege. Like you say, it's a privilege type thing.
Yes.
On top of everything else.
Guys, I just had something happen that just really kind of throws up a red flag for me. And
What happened, Terry?
I've been doing a lot of shopping, grocery shopping online with Walmart, where I go by and pick up the groceries. They just put it in the back of my car and I come home.
Right.
I love that. I really do. I placed an order yesterday with Walmart to be picked up today. And they just sent me an email saying they're canceling my order.
Did they explain why?
Operational issues. Says we've experienced an issue that impacted our grocery pickup and delivery service. We're sorry to cancel.
That is strange.
That's what I think.
I wonder if that has to do with the AT&T issues.
It just says operational issues. I don't know. But to me, that's disturbing.
Well, the thing is, Terry, you know, we were talking about COVID earlier in the show about Fauci lying and all that. Well, have y'all seen the videos with Pelosi getting her shot?
Oh yeah.
That had the cap still over the needle?
I heard about that.
Did you watch the video I sent out about the medical personnel that was receiving the shot? The plunger was down at the bottom
The bottom
of the
plunger was bottomed
syringe.
out inside the syringe.
Yeah, the syringe was empty.
Yeah.
Now, there are companies out there that are offering gift cards, bonuses, and things like that if you take the vaccine. You may have to present your vaccination card when you try to use your debit card.
I think you're going to.
And if you don't have it, your money is useless.
Can you say mark of the beast?
Well, I can say control. You know, people don't think that what happened in Greece a couple of years ago can happen here. Do you remember the term haircut as it related to Greece?
The term what?
Haircut.
Haircut. Okay.
Yes, that's where the government in Greece took all money in your account that was over a set amount. They just took it. You now have companies that cannot use the banking system because of the products that they sell. There are some gun stores in cities that have no way of doing a transaction because their banks will not do business with them. It's getting bad out there, people. It really is.
And Trump is still president.
Yeah.
Think what it's going to be when Kamala Harris is president.
And unfortunately, that'll be the 22nd of January.
I think probably so. I'm hearing a lot of people saying, did y'all hear that Adam Schiff has been arrested?
I saw that.
I don't believe that. That's too good to be true. Christmas was yesterday.
But what was he arrested for, supposedly?
I don't know.
That's just it. I'd never seen anything about what he was arrested for.
I saw it, but I can't remember exactly what it was about. Supposedly.
Well,
I think even with the media being one-sided, that would have made the news.
yeah, I think so too. But I don't know. I don't know. I gotta go away for a second here, guys. I'll be right back.
Well, I'll tell you what, while Terry is gone away, why don't we give away our gift card? And here's the gift card. And here is the information for that card. Alright, it is a Visa gift debit card, and the number is 4358 8063 7400 2442. 4358 8063 7400 2442. Expiration date is 4 of 28, and the CVV is 450. Again, the first person to use this debit card will be the winner of it. And it can only be used online, so hopefully you've got internet service and you're able to write this number down. Alright, well, Rod?
Yes.
We are at the final broadcast for this year.
That we are.
What do you think about some of the stories that we've had to deal with?
So you're saying next week we're taking off? That was
No. That regardless, this is the last broadcast of the year, is it not?
I thought next Saturday was the 31st.
No. Next Saturday's the 2nd.
You're right.
So we've had a number of stories, and we've been on the air now for what, 3 months?
Yeah, about 2.5 or 3 months.
Yeah.
We've covered a bunch of stories.
We have.
But there's been a lot of stories that, if it was a normal year, they would have been the main story for the year. But what do you think, Rod, some of the top stories of this year have been?
Well, 2020 is going to be known as the year of COVID. I have no doubt about that. Now, that and impeachment, we started out the year with that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even remember that. That was January.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 5 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, seems like it.
Yeah. And also the election. That's going to be, to me, that's going to be the top three things. I don't know that they're in that order, but
Yeah.
Depends on how you look at it.
Well, in the list that I wrote down, some of the ones that got my attention was the riots that broke out across the nation. I think probably one of the more fascinating stories that didn't get a lot of coverage, but this came out back in May or June, when the federal government acknowledged that the videos that we've seen of alien ships,
I knew you were going to go there.
that well, and then a week or so ago, we had the director for the Israeli space program, or I should say retired director, say that aliens are living among us, but we're not ready to accept them.
Seen Men in Black?
Well, yeah. And I would say most of the congressmen we got are probably aliens.
I don't know that I would argue with that, Brian, to be honest with you.
I mean, we've had stories about lizard men for a few years. I think that's just one of the things that makes me shake my head is, about the aliens.
Yeah, let me ask you, do you recall seeing the video of Chuck Schumer? He was there on the floor. He's walking to his seat, and he's standing there. He's talking to an empty seat.
Yeah.
Like he's arguing.
Yeah.
That right there, I have to always wonder about that.
I wonder about Schumer
what
anyway.
He's talking to his empty suit.
Well, yeah, that's true. An empty suit talking to an empty seat.
Now, I got to bring something up right here. Now, Brian, do you remember what I always called Richard Shelby? I don't think I actually called him this on the air. But I called
tell
him
you got to remember, that's been 20 years ago.
I know. That's
If you can believe that was 20 years ago.
But I called him an empty suit. That's
Yeah.
what I always called Richard Shelby, was an empty suit, because I did numerous interviews with him, and you can tell when somebody's engaged and when somebody is just spouting platitudes.
Yeah.
That's all Richard Shelby ever did, was spout platitudes. He never actually answered questions. He never actually engaged in the interview. He was always looking for somebody else in the room to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not trying to post myself as any kind of special, individual that he should be, paying attention to. But I'm part of the media. We did represent a bunch of people. There were a lot of people that listened to our shows. But it was always he was an empty suit. He just never he was being controlled from afar. And I'm not talking about a fireman.
Well, and I'm glad you're feeling better than you did last week. But we talked about it a little bit. I was in the Republican Party here in Limestone County when Shelby changed from Democrat to Republican. And one of my best friends in the world, he was all excited. And now, you got to understand, the gentleman, that he was politics in this county. His name's Ben Scanlon, and I miss him dearly because politics he was all about it. But he was, real encouraged when Shelby changed parties, and I said, why? Why are we supposed to be excited about this? The only reason why he changed parties because he knew he was going to get beat the next time he ran.
Yeah,
because the state had changed. Now, the problem I have with politicians in this state, I want to ask them, when did you change from the Democrat Party to the Republican Party? Because we're talking about a lot of older people still in politics that did just that. I can say I've never had a D by my name, unless it was dummy. So, I still don't think, as Republican as this state is, I still think there's a lot of Democrat influence that was just inbred in them. And I did use the word inbred for a reason.
Me, for example, now the first election I ever voted in was in 1976.
Mm-hmm.
And Jimmy Carter was...
Why did you wait till you were 40 to start voting?
Well, Terry, I knew you had already started, and I thought, well, I want to follow in the footsteps of Terry here. He's older and much wiser. You big dummy. And my grandparents were poll watchers. So, my grandmother, I can still remember, she asked me, she said, son, do I need to come in here and help you, show you how to vote, or something to that effect? And I said, no, ma'am, I got it here. But at that time, you didn't have to be as concerned. That's when it was starting to turn. You didn't have to be concerned with the Democrat Party turning the country over to communist China. And Jimmy Carter, I mean, looking back at it now, he was in the top 5 of the worst presidents we've ever had, no doubt. Okay?
Oh, I agree completely. Yeah.
I did vote for Jimmy Carter, but that's the only time I've ever voted Democrat. But it was my maiden voyage as far as voting, and Ronald Reagan at that, I knew that at that time he wasn't going to win. And of course, by the time 1980 rolled around, he had the momentum going, and I had grown up listening to what he had to say. And I tried to tell my dad, I said, Daddy, Ronald Reagan he's the one that's got the talking points here. He's just a Hollywood cowboy. Well, turns out we went from one of the worst presidents to the best president. Up to that point. So, in this, I guess I'm saying all to say in this state, yeah, the Democrat Party is sort of ingrained in everybody to some degree, but people, I believe, are used to the Democrat Party having been more like what we think the Republican Party is today,
right,
as far as their platform.
But Rod, my point is, I'm not necessarily talking about the people, the everyday people. I'm talking about the politicians.
I'm talking about the politicians themselves.
Right. When did you change from being a Democrat to a Republican?
Yeah.
It was that, and if you're honest, if you can be honest about it, did you change because you wanted to stay in office?
You're talking about a Democrat being honest.
That's what I said. If you can be honest.
That's like taking a vow of chastity in a house of ill repute.
All right, Terry, let's
We'll
keep
just
it.
accept your word on that one, Terry.
But we're just about out of time, guys. And there was one other thing that I wanted to mention as far as.
You didn't ask me what my top stories in here
Well, I
were.
was fixing to let you close it out with yours.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry.
I'm saving the best for last.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But the prospects being greater now of peace in the Middle East. It's one of the things that that is my top 3 for this year. Terry, please grace us with your opinion.
Ooh, that was nasty. My opinion is basically it's the same thing. There's not a division in the top 3. They're all the same, and that's COVID, the beginning of the COVID, the impeachment, and all these are one subject, folks, and the election fraud. They're all one subject. They all have one goal, and they all were perpetrated by the same people.
Amen.
Yeah.
Okay, so all 3 of those are one story. A lot of people don't view them that way, but they are. They're all one story. They're all a part of a concerted, total effort to destroy this country and destroy the business situation in our country, to undermine our belief in elections and in our government. Everything is pointed toward that, and to put China in charge of the world. That's all one story. That's not a bunch of different stories.
Kind of like a monster with 3 legs.
It's a bunch of different storylines, but they're all one story.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, is what this year is going to go down. If they're honest, that's what the historians are going to say about this year. Is that all of it was a concerted effort to conduct a coup in this country and to get President Trump out of office, because they can't control him, and he is standing up for the American people like nobody ever, even Ronald Reagan. And I love Ronald Reagan. Even Ronald Reagan has in this country, he stood up for America, and he got an awful lot of things going in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we'd be here now were it not for Ronald Reagan.
But I believe Reagan would have done the same thing Trump has done if he were faced with it.
Yeah.
Well, there were things
I think
that he
he would.
was faced with that he did not do. I mean, Reagan had the opportunity to finish the wall, and he was promised, we'll take care of the wall, but we want you to sign this amnesty deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And he was lied to.
Yep.
Surprise, surprise.
So,
Sad but true.
but hey, this has been one wacky year, and I think if it had a motto, it might be what I was saying at the beginning of the show: never let a good crisis go to waste.
And, I saw a thing on Facebook that said, folks, get ready. 2020 is turning 21 and it's going to start drinking.
Yeah.
Ooh.
2021 could make 2020 look like a kiddie fair.
And it's good. It's got a good possibility of doing that, folks, because they're saying that COVID's going to go crazy after the first of the year. And it may do it, I don't know. But there's a lot of people out there that are, there's a lot of false positives going on. There's an incredible amount of deaths that are being attributed to COVID that are absolutely 110% unrelated to COVID at all. People dying of gunshot wounds that are being ruled as COVID deaths.
Well, did you read a couple of weeks ago when the CDC put out their memorandum about the magnifications used? So whenever you're looking under the microscope, if your magnification, this is what the CDC said, if your magnification is over 30, it is an invalid reading because it is not transmittable. If your magnification is over 30, what you're seeing is not transmittable. And places like New York and California, they're running 40 and 50s. Florida is in the process right now of standardizing the testing methods and using 30 magnification as the standard. So if you can't see it and it's above 30 or at 30 or below, if you can't see it, then it's not positive. I guess the best way to describe it would be like, okay, you may have the antibodies for it.
Yeah.
And that's another thing people are not testing for, is people that having the antibodies for COVID.
Because you may have already had it, didn't know it.
Exactly.
Because it's so, and again, it is deadly for some people that are in the right age group and the right comorbidities. But if you're healthy and you're under the age of 65, 99.999% chance you're going to be okay.
You might be sick for a few days.
Sure.
It's just another form of the flu.
Yeah, it is. But Brian, we got to go, don't we?
Yeah, we're that way. You want to close us out, Terry?
Sure, be glad to. Guys, I'm going to close this out real quickly with a prayer for 2021. Everybody bow your head if you would. Father, again, we just thank you and praise you that you are on the throne. No matter what's happening in the world, no matter what's happening in our lives individually, you are on the throne. And I thank you for that. And I know 2021 you're still going to be on the throne in 2021, even if it may not seem like it sometimes to us.
Amen.
But Lord, I thank you and I praise you that you are in control and that you are wrapping us in your love and protection. And I ask you to do that right now and be with our country. And Lord, help us to get headed in the right direction and headed in your direction, whatever that is. Father, I thank you and praise you for it in the sweet, precious name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
All right, guys. Have a good new year.